I spent 9 years of my life at the World Economic Forum and went to over 10 global events, including Davos, 7 times. Here's what I learned that nobody talks about. The most important conversations at conferences, business conferences, don't happen in the sessions. They happen in the hallways, during coffee breaks, and at private dinners. While everyone else is sitting on panels taking notes, people with real influence are making deals that change industries. Here's the truth. Most people go to conferences thinking the event is the strategy, but the conference is just an excuse. The real work happens before, after, and in the margins. This is Confluently. I'm Tiffany Hart, and today we're talking about how conferences actually work for people who understand the game and what you're probably doing wrong. Here's what I learned after burning through thousands of dollars and years of my life at conferences that most people aren't playing the game or they don't understand it well. They think that networking means collecting business cards like they're a Pokemon trader. They take selfies with speakers about post incredible insights from panels that they barely listen to. I used to make the same mistake. My first Davos, I thought having the World Economic Forum badge made me important. Spoiler alert, it did not. I spent my first day sitting in sessions collecting contacts like every other amateur. Here's the brutal truth. The conference is not the strategy. The conference is just a very expensive theater for people who want to feel like players without actually playing the game. Most people think that activity means achievement. They confuse being busy with being productive. They think that shaking 50 hands is better than having one conversation that matters. Now, let me be clear. Many of the people that are on those panels are important, but they're not important because they're on the panels. They got on those panels because they've done the important work. The panel is just a promotional reel. That's it. Let me tell you about my failure because that's really where the real education happens. I spent years thinking I was networking and good at it. I was actually just collecting business cards like trophies, and I was making the same mistakes that I'm calling out right now. My first Davos, I collected more business cards than I collected insights. I thought being in the room meant that I understood the game. By my fifth Davos, I had finally kind of figured it out that the real people with real power weren't in those sessions. They were making deals while everyone else was pretending to learn something they could have actually Googled. By the time that I left the WEF, I wasn't actually networking anymore. I was teaching other people how the game actually works. That's when I realized that conferences are just very expensive therapy sessions for people who want to feel important without actually doing the work. Here's the real truth. Real influence happens in the 90% of the time you're not actually at the conferences. So, Tiffany, what actually works? Well, here it is. After 9 years of managing relationships with billion-dollar companies, this is what it taught me. First, stop going to conferences to meet people. Go to conferences to meet people that you already have relationships with. The networking happens before the event. You reach out 6 weeks ahead, you set up specific meetings, and you have an agenda for each conversation. Second, you understand that influence isn't built in ballrooms. It's built with consistency. That CEO that you want to connect with, you don't need to corner them at a cocktail party. You need to add value to their life consistently over time until the meeting becomes the next logical step. Third, quality beats quantity every single time. I'd rather have one meaningful conversation with someone who can actually impact my business rather than 50 shallow conversations with people that can't. Here's the real secret that most people miss. The best networking happens when you're trying not to network. I know it seems oxymoronic. When you genuinely try to solve problems, make connections for other people, or share insights that actually matter, that's when real relationships form. Most people go to conferences asking, what can I get? What can I get? The people who actually build influence, what can I give? Think about it this way. The important people on stage didn't become important by speaking at conferences. They speak at conferences because they became important doing real work behind the scenes. The panel is just the reward, not the method. This is why I hunt down specific guests for Confluently instead of just booking whoever's available. I don't want to interview someone because they're famous. I want to interview someone who's actually done something interesting. They've turned chaos into opportunity. They've built real influence, not just social media followings. Because here's what I've learned in all of those conferences and hall rooms and ballrooms, that the best insights come from people who have actually been through something difficult and still figured out how to win anyways. So the next time you're thinking about dropping 2 bands or a stack on a conference ticket or sponsorship, ask yourself this. Am I going to network or am I going there to build relationships? Because networking is what amateurs do. Relationship building is what professionals do. And if you're going to invest in relationship building, start before you go to the conference. Start by adding value. Start by being genuinely interested in solving problems. More importantly, remember, real influence isn't built in those conference halls. It's built with consistency, unglamorous work of showing up for people over time. This has been Confluently. I'm Tiffany Hart. We explore real mechanics of how power influence actually get built, not the highlight reels that you see on social medias. If you're getting value from these conversations about how influence works, not the sanitized TED Talk version, but the real behind the scenes, how the sausage is made mechanics, hit the subscribe button below and leave us a review. It helps others find the show and keeps us bringing guests on who aren't afraid to tell the truth about how power actually gets built. Until then, stop collecting business cards and start building relationships. I'm Tiffany, stay confluent, and I'm out.